All right, we are going to get started with our part 1 notes, which is drawing and interpreting box and whisker plots. Once you finish with this section of the notes, you're going to go on to the part 1 practice. So what we are doing here, we already know our lowest value, highest value, median, lower quartile, and upper quartile. So what we're going to do from here is take the information given and we're going to use it to draw one of our box and whisker plots. So I always start with looking at the lowest value and the highest value, and I make a mark above 13 at my lowest value and above 27 at my highest value. So I know that that is the range my data is going to fall in between. Next thing I look at marking is the median, which is at 20. So I draw a line above 20 here. And then forgot to write it down. Then I look at my lower quartile and upper quartile, and I draw a line above my lower quartile at 16 and my upper quartile at 23. Now I've got all the pieces of the graph or of the box and whisker plot marked. Now what I need to do is draw the box and the whisker part. The box connects the lower quartile to the upper quartile, and the whiskers connect the lowest value to the box and the highest value to the box. So that is my plot drawn, taken from the data here to drawing it onto the number line. Now the more important thing is, okay, what does this data mean? Reminder, we've been using the word quartile here, and quartile just means in 4 even parts. So if 100% of our data is broken into 4 even parts, each part should be the same percentage, or each part should be the same amount. Okay, so what that means is from 13 to 16, so from my lowest value to my lower quartile, 25% of my data lies there because 25 is 1/4 of 100. Okay, so 25% of people sent between 13 to 16 texts per hour. Because our graph here, sorry, I think I forgot to say that. Our graph here shows number of texts sent per hour. So that's what these numbers represent. So 25% of our data lies between the 13 texts per hour and 16 texts per hour. Okay. Another 25% of my data, so 25% of people, sent 16 to 20 texts per hour. Sent between 16 to 20 texts per hour. Okay. Then we get to our median, and then above our median, from our median to our upper quartile, 25% of the data lies within this range as well. So 25% of people sent between 20 and 23 texts per hour. And then last but not least, from our our upper quartile to our highest value, we've got 25% of the data. So 25% of people sent between 23 and 27 texts per hour. Okay? So that means that we can analyze how much data is to the left of the median, how much data is to the right of the median. So if we put our pen down on the median here, if I'm looking to the left of the median, I see 25% of the data plus another 25% of the data. So what that means is 50% of the data, 50% of the data is to the left of the median. And same thing on the other side of the median. That means from the median to the upper quartile, or excuse me, to the highest value, 50% of my data lies to the right of the median as well. Okay, so that's how we start to analyze these. This gives us groups of data. So 1/4 of our data is from 13 to 16 texts per hour. 25% or 1/4 of our data is from 16 to 20 texts per hour. 25% or 1/4 of our data is from 20 to 23 texts per hour. And 25% or 1/4 of our data is from 23 to 27 texts per hour. What I want you to do next is write one more conclusion you can come up with about the data. And after you do that, you are going to pause and practice. So pause the video here and try the 2 practice problems on part 1. When you are ready to move on, come back to the video for part 2. Okay? Y'all are really going to make fun of me for doing that. That's okay. Okay, for part 2 of the notes. Okay, so moving on to part 2 of the notes. We know how to draw the box and whisker plots now, but what if we have to calculate the values ourselves? There are 5 pieces of data we have to know in order to draw a box and whisker plot. They're the lowest value, the highest value, the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. So what I always do first is I put my data in order from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing that first. I've got 4 as my least value. I've got 5, 7, 9, another 9, 11, 12, and my last one of 15. Okay, putting them in order makes it really, really easy to spot the 2 pieces of information we need first, which are the lowest value and the highest value. Now that I've got them in order, I can see that 4 is my lowest value and that 15 is my highest value. Okay, so those are the first 2 things that I need to know. The next thing I need to know is my median. So what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to rewrite the data down here. 4, 5, 7, 9, 9, 11, 12, and 15. I'm going to rewrite my data down here. And remember, to find the median, I just cross off until I find a solid number in the middle. So I've got 4 and 15, 12 and 5, 7 and 11. And I'm left with 2 numbers in the middle. Usually when I'm left with 2 numbers in the middle, I take these 2 numbers, I add them together, and I divide by 2. So that gives me 9 plus 9 divided by 2. That's 18 divided by 2, which is 9. Because if it's the same number in the middle, we know it's 9. So that means our median is 9. Okay? The 2 trickiest parts are the lower quartile and the upper quartile. Now, reminder that the lower quartile are values to the left, because it is our lower, of the median, but not including the median. Okay, not including the median. Okay, so in this case, the median is 9 that we calculated. So it's not including the median calculated. Let's be really specific there. Okay, so I calculated a median of 9 here. That is not going to be included in my lower quartile. Okay, so I can almost go back up here to my original data set and write in a new 9 that represents the median. So if I'm looking for the lower quartile, I'm looking for all values to the left of the median, but not including the one that I calculated. So my lower quartile is going to be the numbers 4, 5, 7, and 9. Now I know that this median is 9, but that's not the 9, that's the 9 that was calculated. That's the 9 that we wrote in as the 9 that was calculated. So the 9 to the left of that median is included in this data set. Okay, then what we do from there is we find the median of these values. So I cross through 4, I cross through 9, I'm left with 5 and 7 in the middle. 5 plus 7 gives me, what, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, I still count on my fingers. 12, I divide that by 2. My lower quartile is 6. Okay, so that's how we calculate our lower quartile. Well, if lower quartile are values to the left of the median, then our upper quartile must be values to the right of the median, not including the calculated median. Okay, not including the calculated median. So if I'm looking back at my data set up here, this is the median that I wrote in. That was the one that was calculated. So I'm looking for all values to the right of my calculated median. That's going to be values 9, 11, 12, and 15. I go through the process, cross through the 9, cross through the 15. I'm left with 11 and 12 in the middle. 11 plus 12 divided by 2. That gets me 23 over 2, which is equal to 11.5. And that is my upper quartile. Okay. So that is how we go through calculating all the pieces that we need to construct our box and whisker graph. So you are going to pause and practice here. And once you are finished with practice, you are then going to move on to part 3. So moving on to part 3, where we kind of put all of this together, we are going to calculate the values and then use those values to draw our box and whisker graph. I'm going to go kind of quickly through this, so make sure you are pausing and catching up with writing if you need to. So first thing I always do is I put my numbers in order from least to greatest. I've got 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 12. Always start by putting my numbers in order from least to greatest. So first thing I'm going to look for is my lowest value and my highest value. My lowest value is 1. My highest value is 12. Don't know why I wrote it all the way over there, but the highest value is 12. Okay. Next thing I need to calculate is my median. Reminder that I just rewrite it, the data set here, and then I calculate the median by crossing off a number on each side. So starting with the 1, then the 12, cross off the 10, the 2, the 5, the 9, and I am left with 6 and 7 in the middle. So that gives me 6 plus 7 over 2, which is going to be 13 over 2. If I divide that out, I should get 6.5, which means my median is 6.5. Okay, so 6.5 is my median. Like I said before, sorry, I probably should have done that in a different color. We'll call our new median 6.5. We'll write it in black. I'm going to write in my new median so I know how to better calculate my lower and upper values. Okay, so lower quartile is anything that is to the left of the median. So all my values to the left of the median are from 6 all the way down to 1. So I've got 1, 2, 5, and 6. Cross through my 1 and my 6. I'm left with 2 and 5 in the middle. That gives me 2 plus 5 over 2. 7 over 2, which is 3.5. So my lower quartile is 3.5. And the last thing I need to calculate in order to draw the box and whisker plot is my upper quartile. My upper quartile is going to be anything to the right of the median. So everything, here's my calculated median here. I'm going to go from 7 all the way through 12. That's going to be my upper quartile. So I've got 7, 9, 10, and 12. Cross through, I'm left with 9 and 10 in the middle. 9 plus 10 over 2. 9 plus 10 gives me 19 over 2 is equal to 9.5. So my upper quartile is 9.5. Okay, now I am going to use all these values to then draw my box and whisker plot down on this number line below. Okay, I'm going to start with my lowest and highest value. My lowest value is at 1. You can see this, yeah? My highest value is at 12. Next thing I always draw in is my median, which is at 6.5. So I'm going to draw it in halfway between the 6 and the 7. And then my lower quartile is at 3.5. Again, since I've got that decimal, I'm doing it halfway between the 3 and the 4. And my upper quartile is at 9.5. Again, halfway between the 10 and the 9. So I create my box by connecting my lower quartile to my upper quartile. And I create the whiskers by connecting the upper quartile to the highest value and the lower quartile to the lowest value. And that represents my box and whisker plot. Okay, from here, you are going to move on to your last pause and practice and finish up for today. That's it.